Thank you. It's wonderful to see you all. We're going to jump right into it. We've got our first set of speakers here to my left, but we're going to begin with the president of Boise State University, Dr. Marlene Trump, who's been instrumental to this program from its outset a few years ago. So, Dr. Trump, please come and give a welcome.
Now, the first thing I want to say is thank you.
My name's Sean. Today I'm going to ask you to use your imagination. Freedom. Can you imagine? Can you imagine growing up in a household where your father was next level kind of alcoholic, the kind of alcoholic that beat you like a grown-up every single day, and you got kicked from one end of the house to the other like a soccer ball? Can you imagine coming home from school every single day and your little body is saturated with terror and fear and resentment and chaos as you walked into your door, wondering whether or not that 357 sitting on that table and is today another day where we play Russian roulette? Can you imagine? Can you imagine the first time somebody comes up to you, one of your little friends, and says, "Hey, I stole a beer from my dad and my big brother gave me a joint." And you imagine the first time you take that, and all of a sudden that monster is just a little bit more quiet. And you can imagine that from that point forward, we're all in on that, because if that silences that chaos, that pain, that monster, if even for a second, well, sign me up. And can you imagine the road to crime that ensues? Because drugs and alcohol aren't free. And can you imagine the state knocking on that door saying, "Hey, we are tired of the back and forth between detention and all the reports on child abuse. So we're going to go ahead and make you a foster kid." And can you imagine walking into your foster family for the first time thinking, a fresh start? And the first thing you find out is that your foster mom gets high and your dad is an alcoholic. Well, heck, we know this, don't we? Can you imagine that the only thing that pursues that is every single day you're chasing it, that numbness, because you have your own demons to quiet. And so the road to crime just continues. And then 2 years later, the state's knocking on the door. You're 18 now, and you're no longer a ward of the state, and foster care doesn't take care of adults, and you're on your own now, and have a good day. Can you imagine all your clothes in a black trash bag out in the middle of a field, grass up to your chest, and that is your new bed? You wake up, bug bites, cold, nowhere to go, no one to turn to, because you've wore everybody out, especially their couch. And can you imagine the first time somebody says, "Hey, do you want to be roommates?" And you say, "Well, yeah," because that spells hope. That spells a new start. And can you imagine your best thinking has always got you where you're at? And so, yeah, we know how to fix this problem, because even though you ain't got a job, you know exactly what you needed to get money. So you'll borrow a gun from your friend and you'll rob a store, because nothing can ever go wrong from doing that. And even though you know nothing about guns, you think you got it all figured out. Until all of a sudden, everything that you thought was going to happen turned terribly wrong, and you take a life. Can you imagine? Can you imagine sitting in front of the judge as that gavel hits hard, echoing 25 to life? Because somehow, some way, there's still hope for you, even though you do believe that you should be sitting on death row. But okay. Can you imagine sitting in your cell, 19 years old, and the echoes of those cold concrete walls, of all the fear and anger and resentment and sadness, echo from the fathers, brothers, uncles, grandpas prior? And now you get to lend to those. Can you imagine every single day you Fight to get back to your cell and make it one more day. Because this is your new world and this is exactly where you belong. And can you imagine finding an opportunity to do something different, which is play sports, because that's what everybody else is doing, and go along to get along? And you start to learn that failure can mean success. It's just a grind, and it's not something that you understand, but yet you do it because, again, you go along to get along. Can you imagine somebody coming up to you and saying, hey, your story's powerful. Would you mind working with at-risk youth? And you say to yourself, well, we can continue to get high in prison and basically die there, or you can start to work with others, share your story, and maybe make a change. Well, you know what? I think we'll go this way. But first, you need to work on you because you're a train wreck. And you can imagine all the demons and all the monsters that reside within, because that didn't go away. And so you spend the next 5 years hammering on all of that, and it is an absolute mess. And yet, you still grind it out because you know that you don't want to die here. And you do want to stop the next youngster from making the same mistakes. And can you imagine doing that year after year after year after year, helping those others get out and stay out, until one day, 32 and a half years later, you are introduced to that gate and you're introduced to freedom. You walk out into a world you no longer know. You walk out to a freedom that you embrace for the first time, because even though as a youngster you were free, you weren't really free. You were in a cage. And even though you had the key, you didn't know how to use it. So yes, you embrace freedom like you've never done anything before. And you say to yourself, we were going to do this. All the stuff that you've practiced, you're going to put into action. And you're going to work with the community. You're going to add value to the youngsters' lives. You're going to do what you have to do in order to make change, because everything seems like it's in a train wreck. Or you can get high and go back to prison and die. Very black and white. Just like the day you stood there and you asked yourself, do we add value or do we die? Thank you.